Alston, and this process in 2 weeks, going through this, I want to highlight some things. As many of you know, I'm a former teacher. 8th grade government was my subject. In a lot of classes, we did do debates in class because I wanted to instill collegiality, discourse, and just proper etiquette. And as a teacher, the goal was to frame the issue, to look at the existing record and data on file, debate policy and specifics, and discuss implementation. My concern is the way this was rolled out. If this was a lesson plan, I'd be fired as a teacher. With that being said, as a teacher, I have witnessed bullying, as Miss Jessie. I'm sure we all have and have experienced it in our lives. As a teacher, like I said, I've seen kids attacked for their sexuality, their race, a bunch of different things. 2 weeks ago, I was talking to the chairman, and something was posted on social media. I woke up in the morning, my first day slugging, which was a whole new experience, and a student had tweeted, quote, "If another fag wins class president, I'm done with this building." And that, to me, opened back my eyes to the fact that, this is something we deal with constantly, and we have to get to the root of the problem here, and tackle these issues. And so looking at this and in these 2 weeks and speaking with my constituents, that's what I've been using these 2 weeks to do. And I've gone to the people, the boots on the ground. I've talked to my principals. I've talked to guidance counselors, my teachers, and a large network of superintendents that I work with professionally. Last night, I even had the chance, maybe for tutors or not, to speak to a school psychiatrist who has worked in her years in the school system with many transgender students. A couple themes arose that I looked at when analyzing all this information. Things that I've heard tonight. We've been dealing with this for years. These are private matters that are dealt with on an individual basis. Why are you dealing with these items when it's currently being litigated in the courts? To get another perspective, I had a lot of emails from students, which I appreciate, having students email their school board members. A good portion, and many of my former students actually reached out to me. In fact, a group of 30 of my former Woodbridge Middle School students signed an email statement, all should be noticed Latino declaring as young Democrats. They were opposed to this reckless implementation and policy. Common phrases.
Mr. Wilk, I'm sorry to interrupt. We do have to stick to the merits of delay.
I will stick to the merits are why I believe in why I'm supporting Ms. Ralston's motion.
Okay, so I just want to make sure we're sticking to the merits of whether or not to delay or not the policy.
I'm giving you my rationale for that.
Gotcha.
Yes, I appreciate that, sir. We cannot, these are common quotes verbatim, we cannot make pawns out of these students. We cannot stigmatize them, exploit them, rush the process. Do not play politics before us, Mr. Wilk. Dewey asked, did we do our homework? And I did do a little bit of homework, and I looked, and Willie was just asking, well, where did you go to find how the 50 other largest school districts in this country are dealing with this issue? There is no database. I literally went to every school district website. I reached out to other school board clerks and tried to figure out how these policies and how they're being implemented across this country. What's very fascinating is it's all over the gamut. You go from LA Unified, which all the way across the board, transgender, everything can pretty much go. All the way to, Marietta Public Schools down in Georgia, where they don't have the policy inclusion in their statement. They deal with students on an individual basis for bathroom, locker room. The point I'm trying to get at is the current amendment giving guidance to the superintendent, to me, I could see being very perceived as nebulous. Where are we going with this when we have other examples all over the country kind of willy-nilly dealing with this? My thought, as I was talking to Ms. Jessie, is this is almost like a policy where you write the regulations. You were saying it to me, where almost the regulations have to precede the policy. So we have a firm outline. I looked at a case study. This just happened on 7/19. Those of you who are aware of Fort Worth, Texas, that's where Dallas is. Fort Worth ISD, right before the summer, implemented, one might say in a hasty manner, a transgender policy. major retaliation from the community, ultimately leading the board to have to come back to special session and try to develop a policy. If you look at it online, I should be able to get it, how they've outlined and wrote very specific regulations of how they're going to handle this issue. So again, there's a lot to look at here. And when it comes to me, I'm against discrimination, obviously. But to me, it comes down to the policy and the process. My fear and what I've been looking at when I talk to constituents is a fast vote erodes the necessary trust any business or institution or government body needs. When we had the name changing thing, we talked about this, and I admitted that although I have no regrets in what I did with changing and getting rid of Mills Godwin, I did openly express regrets on the process and the way it was handled. Standing up here tonight, seeing kind of where we're at again, I feel it would be an absolute hypocrisy to jump forward and implement and vote for this procedure when there is still so much we need to understand and know with this policy. So ultimately, with this motion, Ms. Ralston, I believe our schools should be safe and an inclusive space for all students, regardless of their differences. However, in speaking with my constituents, I think we should all acknowledge that there is no widespread agreement on how best to make sure our schools are inclusive to transgender students. That's evident tonight. I think what is most needed is a community dialogue to come to an understanding and better understand the challenges and discrimination faced by these individuals. We need an opportunity, more than 2 weeks, to reach out to our community and have a safe space for all dialogue to learn about this issue. Some of our speakers alluded to this tonight, saying we want to reach across the aisle, we want to work with the other side and try to make this happen so that, again, we are not recklessly just putting something forward where we don't understand the unintended consequences. I do want to make clear I am in favor of continuing to reach out to all members of our community. I met with pastors, I met with the priest, Father Thomas, and I had a long discussion via phone on my deck. To my wife's detriment, I've been on the phone a lot this week. But I've been talking to pastors, to priests, to leaders in this community to really try to figure out how we can come together and solve this issue, because it is not going away, as like you said, Ms. Ralston. This is not going away. And the direction, very likely this could happen. And this discussion, this debate will not be the constituents coming at us. It'll be with you guys figuring out with your federal government or your courts how you can, protest. And so ultimately in the end, this should be no means an end to our discussion. This is just the beginning. We have a lot of time now, if this motion, which I do agree and support with you, Ms. Ralston, to really look into this issue and do what's best for all students in Prince William County. I yield my time.